Screen printing cleanup. Right after you're done printing, you're gonna jump into this. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip my mylar back to protect the bed of my printing surface. I'm gonna put my tape underneath here to keep the screen from making contact with whatever surface I'm on. And then I'm gonna start by scraping up with the spatula as much ink as I can preserve from the ink that I used and put it back into my container. So it doesn't have to be perfect here, but you want to get most of those large chunks off because it's just more ink that I have to clean off later, and we can always reuse this ink for another project. So I want to scrape also off the squeegee. You can't see that, that's off screen, but scrape all the ink off the squeegee as well. And then I'm going to sponge off the screen with a damp sponge, so not wet. So it shouldn't be soaking wet because you're just going to make a mess here, so just damp. I'm trying to break up these piles of ink and also get some of the ink out of the pores of the screen. So really trying to get rid of most of those clumps of ink so that when I go to the sink to start washing stuff down, I'm not washing down big chunks of ink. So I can remove the spacers and unhinge the screen. I can reuse these spacers over and over. And then I'm gonna go ahead and after I remove the screen, I'm going to go ahead and clean off my mylar with the sponge and water as well. I can also use a paper towel and soapy water at the end of this just to get rid of any sort of residue, but this should clean up really well with just the sponge and water. And then go ahead and remove your mylar from the printing station. Make sure you leave the printing station clean the way you found it. And then I'm going to take the screen, the spatula, the squeegee, the sponge, and the water bucket to the washout booth. And I'm going to start first by removing all the blue tape that I have on the screen, and then I'm going to rinse this off with a hose, not the pressure washer. So I want to make sure that all the ink is out of the screen. So I did most of this with the sponge and water, but I want to make sure that the screen has no ink in its pores, it has no chunks along the edges. I can use the sponge once again to kind of break up those areas if it doesn't want to come off with just the hose. You can see me sponging that off. Rinsing it off, drip off the screen before removing it so you're not just dumping water on the ground. And then clean your tools, so your squeegee, your spatula, your bucket of water, your sponge, rinse that out really well. Make sure basically there's no ink left on anything. Hit all the edges of your spatula and your squeegee, and then shut off the water, dry your tools, and put them back where you got them.